Hey everybody, Brian here with TrailGrid Pro. Super excited to be with you guys today and announce our new lineup of Alpine plug-and-play head units for your 2014 to 2021 Toyota Tundra. If you followed us before, you've seen that we take the latest and greatest in technology and make it a plug-and-play bundle that fits directly in your truck. Today we're going to be installing the iLX-F511 in my 2021 Toyota Tundra TRD Pro. TrailGrid Pro's partnered up with Alpine to bring you 3 amazing units. So let's go over the 3 options that you have. You have first the iLX-507. This is going to be the 7-inch flush looking unit. The next is going to be the F509. It's going to be a 9-inch floating screen, much like the F511 here. The great thing about all of these Alpine head units is functionality is exactly the same, whether you get the 7, the 9, or the 11-inch screen option. If you haven't already checked out our video about all of the in-depth features of these new units, I'm going to put a link up here in the corner for the video that Colin from Alpine did with Cliff, where they talk about all of the great things that Alpine has to offer with these and all of the new integration that you can run directly off the screen of your new unit. Some of the highlights from that video are that all of these units are Maestro compatible. What that means is that the Maestro RR module integrates the radio perfectly with your vehicle and maintains your factory steering wheel controls, your factory backup camera, and any of the settings that you were able to control through your factory system can now be controlled off of the screen on your new Alpine unit. Furthermore, Alpine gives us the ability to integrate a dash camera, a front camera, or even an aftermarket rear camera that all plug directly into these units, and you can toggle all of the settings and the views directly from your screen. All of those functionalities are possible through a dedicated camera button, so with a quick click of the screen, you can toggle between your front camera and your rear camera, and actually a couple of different views. You have the front, and it also shows you sides as well, which is a feature that we haven't seen in a camera system before. And the cherry on top is that all of these units support both wired and wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. Now that we've shown you these 3 great plug-and-play units and all of the additional functionality that it will bring to your Tundra, before we show you exactly how easy disassembly and installation of this is, we're going to take the 511 over to the bench. I'm going to show you all the connections on the back and show you just how easy this is to install in your own garage. All right, everybody, let's go over all of the wires and connections here on the back of the head unit. I know it looks like a lot, but Alpine has done a really great job of labeling everything on here. So we're going to start just kind of left to right, and we're going to show you what everything does so that you know exactly what to expect when you go to make all of your connections between this unit and your Tundra. So starting over here on the left, we have 2 USB cords. One of them you're going to see has a Apple CarPlay and a Android Auto tag on it. This is going to be the one that we are going to attach a vehicle-specific USB adapter so that you can maintain your charging abilities, and you're going to be able to use this for wired Apple CarPlay or wired Android Auto. You'll also notice that there is a second USB. Alpine's included this one for an additional charging port, and you will see when you get this one that it will have a cap on it. You can use that if you choose. But our goal in this is to supply you with all of the adapters that you will need to maintain your functionality. So that's why you will get that one on that USB. The next main harness here is your Maestro harness. This is going to be vehicle specific. So if you have a 2014 to 2019 Tundra, your main vehicle connectors are going to look a little different. If you have a 2020 or a 2021, you will have the setup shown here in this video. So you'll have 2 white and a black connector for the 2020 and the 2021 trucks. And if you have a 14 to 19 truck, you will have all white connectors, and you'll have a total of 4 of them. So subtle difference there. So don't be thrown off if yours shows up and it's not exactly what we have here today. So the important takeaway from this is that based off the questions that you answered during the checkout process, whether you have non-amplified, a amplified but non-JBL, or a JBL amplified system, this harness will already be set up for your vehicle. So you can see here that we have the JBL amplified adapter already plugged in, because the Tundra that we're going to be installing it in today has the JBL amplified system. The other important thing to note here, in something that we've gone ahead and done for all of the bundles, is we've added a yellow, a black, and a red pigtail. These are going to be used for running the power for your dash camera. So if you've opted to go ahead and get the dash camera with your bundle, or if you want to add the dash camera later, all you simply have to do is take the wiring harness from the dash camera and plug it in here, and you'll be good to go. And I'll show you a little bit more on that when we actually go to install this unit in the truck. The other thing that you have coming off of it is the rear camera connection. So if you're going to be using your factory rear camera, such as we are today, this harness will already be plugged in for you to maintain your factory backup camera. If you want to add one of Alpine's cameras, you can simply take that out and then plug that camera directly into the connector here that says rear camera. So again, Alpine's done a really thoughtful thing here with labeling everything. Now that's definitely something we haven't seen in some of the other setups. You'll see that all of the connections are already made to your Maestro unit for you. Another part of the thing that we do when we bundle these is that we go ahead and program the Maestro for your vehicle. We tell it what head unit that it's going to be using, so that way when it shows up, it is already programmed. There's no flashing necessary. It's ready to go for you. So you'll see that this main harness gets plugged in two different places at the top of the radio. You also, on the next harness, you have RCA outputs for the front. If you have the JBL amplified system like we do, your RCAs are already going to be connected. That was part of the amplified harness. You also have RCA connections for your rear output and even your subwoofer. So if you guys are going to look to add an aftermarket amplifier or add an additional amplifier and you want to use RCAs, they're already here, so feel free to use those as you need to. Moving over next, we have this headphone jack. This is where your Alpine supplied microphone is going to plug into. This is going to be used in place of your factory microphone. I'll show you how to install this in my recommendation here when we move inside the truck. But obviously with the supplied microphone, you can mount it wherever you choose. Our next connector is our AM/FM antenna adapter. You'll see that it's this one rectangular white connector with a blue and a black wire coming off of it. So again, we're reusing your factory AM/FM antenna that's built into your truck for that purpose. A couple more connectors to talk about, and this is one of the great add-ons that you can select at checkout is the Sirius tuner. So if you opt to add or maintain your Sirius subscription, what we will be sending you is a new SXV300 VI tuner, and then the supplied adapter to use your factory Sirius XM antenna if your truck was equipped with one. So we have a couple of options here depending on your vehicle, but again, we will be supplying the adapters that you need to make all of this work directly with your vehicle. A couple more add-on connectors to talk about. You see there's one labeled front camera here. Again, if you opt to add a front camera, this is a super simple install. It's just a matter of installing the camera in your preferred location, run the wire to behind the head unit, and it's going to plug in right here where it's labeled front camera. That's all there is to that one. And then you'll see right next to it, we have a connector labeled LIN, and then there's one that says drive recorder in, and it's a yellow RCA. These are going to be the other two connections that you're going to need to integrate your dash camera. You'll simply plug in the yellow RCA from the dash camera harness. You'll see that the harness also has a LIN connection, which has a 2-pin connector that will fit right in here. So hook in your drive recorder in, your LIN, and then your power, ground, and accessory, and you're good to go on that. We have 3 more ports to talk about real quick, and they are directly on the back of the head unit. So we're going to turn that so I can show you that a little bit better, and I'll show you where those 3 things plug in. All right, 3 more connection points on the back of the radio. You can see here over the left side, you have your HDMI input and output. So in my vehicle, I've opted to add a HDMI accessory port down where my switch blanks are, and we will be plugging the HDMI into the input side. If you want to mirror whatever you're looking at to say headrest, video screens, or you want to set a TV up in the back for game day or whatever it may be, you can utilize the HDMI output to tether from your head unit to whatever the other device is. And the last other connection here on the back of the radio, this is the Alpine provided navigation antenna. You will need to run the little puck of the antenna, we recommend up on the dash, and then the other end will simply plug in right here. All right, one last important note. Right here next to your main vehicle connectors, you'll see a wire with a little cap on it, and it has a tag on it that says amp turn on. We get a lot of questions about adding aftermarket amplifiers and how to connect those to the radio. So we talked about the RCA connections. You will a lot of times need this amp turn on wire. This is a signal wire that goes from the main harness to your aftermarket amplifier that basically tells the amplifier that the head unit is on and that the amplifier also needs to turn on at the same time to make everything work. One of the things that we've done for you when we put these bundles together is we've gone ahead and attached the Maestro to the rest of the unit just so that everything stays tidy, but it's just attached with some Velcro. So if you need to move things around to get everything fit right, you can simply just pull it off. And then if you want to, you can just reattach it, push it into place, and it will hold. All right, now that we've talked about all of the connections, one last thing we have to do is we got to disassemble the truck, get the factory radio out, and we'll get this new F511 in its place. Let's not delay this project any further. Let's get started with disassembly of the factory head unit. To accomplish this, we're only going to need a few simple hand tools, one being a panel removal or pry tool, and the other being our trusty 10mm socket. Let's grab those and we'll get this head unit out. Small disclaimer here, I went ahead and removed the cup holder assembly from my truck because I already have an 8-switch light accessory controller down here that is going to be obstructing the lower panel coming out. So I've gone ahead and set that off to the side. If you don't have anything mounted that's going to obstruct this lower panel, then just leave the cup holder in place. It is not necessary to remove the cup holder to get the radio out. So when we look at the center of the dash here, you have the HVAC control, and then right below it is the panel that has all of your charging stations or ports. Right between these, there's a little lip. We're going to insert the pry tool and gently just pry this outward until we can get our fingers in behind it and just kind of pull straight back towards you. And you'll see that this whole panel drops right out. It's just held in with these pressure clips. So we can actually just leave this hanging right here. It's not going to be in the way at all. Next portion is the HVAC control. Reach your fingers in right where we just removed the lower panel. And we're just going to pull this straight out. And you'll see on the back there that there's just one connector. We'll go ahead and depress the tab, pull that out of the way, and we'll set this in the back seat. Next step, 4 10mm bolts. There's 2 in the front, kind of right here, and then there's 2 out to the sides. Those are going to be a little further back, so our recommendation is to definitely use an extension with your 10mm. So we're going to remove the 4 bolts, and we'll move to the next step. Make sure that you save these. We are going to use these for the install of our new radio. With our 4 10mm bolts removed, next step is, again, put your fingers up and under behind the radio, and we'll just wiggle it straight out, pull it straight out towards you, and we'll see that there's all these connectors on the back of the radio. We're going to go ahead and pull all of the connectors out. The only one that you will not need to reuse, and I'll show it to you here in a second, is there's one little jumper that goes from the top of the radio to the bottom of the factory radio. That's not going to be needed for reinstallation, but the rest of these can get disconnected. On each of the connectors here in the back of the radio, there's just a retention tab. I'm going to push the tabs down and release all of the connectors. As I mentioned a moment ago, there's one harness that you're going to leave attached to the radio, and that's going to be this little jumper harness that goes from this bottom module, which is the navigation component, up to the top. So this little piece right here can stay there. We're not going to need it for the new radio. So as you can see, really easy process to get the factory head unit out. So we'll go ahead and set this off to the bench, and we'll get started on the installation of our new aftermarket head unit. With our disassembly complete, it is now time to get our new Alpine plug-and-play bundle installed. Important note, on this video, we'll be showing the install of the iLX-F511 in this 2021 Tundra. Now, keep in mind the installation as far as hooking up all of your connectors and wires. This part is going to be the same whether you got the 507, the 509, or the 511. Obviously, the only difference is after we get this one installed for the 509 and the 511, we'll also have to add the screen. So we'll go over that a little bit more in detail later. So let's start with getting the main chassis of the radio connected to all of our new accessories, and then we'll show you how to put this all neatly away in the dash. Easiest way I've found to kind of do this is take the chassis and the dash kit, and we'll just set it here on the armrest, and that'll kind of put us in the same view as what we looked at over on the table. For the install today, I'm going to show you how to connect all the accessories. We'll do another separate little bit about how we mounted all of the accessories, so look for those videos as well. The easiest thing I found is just kind of start on one side of the radio and work your way across to get all of your connectors. So I'm actually going to start closest to the camera. So, and the great thing about this bundle is everything, as we've already talked about, is labeled. So if you kind of forget or you get confused, just look for the tag. So this one says Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, and it has your vehicle-specific USB adapter already hooked onto it. So we're going to grab the main wiring harness, and the one that we're looking for is the gray one there. And we'll go ahead and line these up and click those together. Now, keep in mind, if you've seen any of our other videos, we always make sure to talk about this, that each of these plugs are keyed. So that means it only plug in to the other connector that it's supposed to. So if something doesn't quite line up, either try to flip it 180 degrees or look for a different connector. So that's our USB. Next, we're going to move over to our main wiring harness. Now, with that 2020 and 2021 trucks, they're going to have 3 connectors here. You're going to have 2 white ones and a black one. If you have a 14 to 19 Tundra, your main vehicle connectors are going to look a little different. You're actually going to have, they're all going to be white, and there's going to be 4 of them in total. Again, our main wiring harness, and we're just going to find the plugs that match. There's a black 10 pin that's going to go to the black connector from our radio. Again, flip these 180 degrees. That one snaps right into place. We're going to grab the white one. 2020 and 2021, you're going to use, from your vehicle, you're going to use the black, the white, and the gray connectors. You'll notice here that we still have a few connectors left over, that being this black and white, a solid black, and a blue. These were all tied to your factory navigation system. These are no longer going to be utilized with this new setup. So if you have a few extra plugs, don't worry, completely normal. All right, next thing, backup camera. We're using the factory backup camera in this installation, so that connector will already be connected for you. If you're going to opt to use the Alpine camera, you're just going to plug yours into where it says rear camera here, and you can disregard the factory backup. Moving on, we have the Sirius XM adapter. If you selected this as an add-on at checkout, you will get this Sirius tuner, as well as the adapter cable. This is going to let us adapt the Sirius tuner and use the factory Sirius XM antenna on our truck. So we're going to go ahead and grab this other small harness here. It's got a white and a black that look exactly the same. The white one is your factory navigation antenna. That is no longer going to be used in this installation. And the black one is your factory Sirius antenna. So we're going to take our Sirius tuner and plug in there. On that same harness, you'll also find this 2-pin, or what should be 2-pin connector for your AM/FM antenna. That is going to attach to the white connector with the black and the blue wire. So again, those just simply snap together. Next up is our microphone jack. It's going to be your regular headphone looking jack. We have the microphone mounted here. We went ahead and just mounted it right on top of the steering column. It's directly in front of my face, works very well. So that's probably the easiest place to mount it, and then you can just run the wire through. And then to hook up the microphone, all we're going to do is plug that into there. All right, a few more accessories to talk about. The next thing up is the navigation antenna. This is going to be supplied with your Alpine bundle. I've opted to mount mine up in the windshield here directly in front of the center speaker. You can easily do that by mounting it there and then running the cable under the speaker grill. It gives you great access to right behind the radio. And the connector here is going to plug in right here next to this connector. So again, these only go in one way. A nice push and a click. Next up is the front camera add-on. As you saw in the video with Cliff and Colin, this is a great add-on. You get a lot of vision out front and to the sides, and it is super easy to install. Once you've mounted the camera, you literally just run the camera wire to the back of the radio, and you'll see they're both labeled front camera, and we're just going to connect the two connectors. That's it for the front camera. Super simple. Next in the camera department is the dash camera. So a couple of connectors here that we need to take care of. Whether you buy the dash camera with your bundle or you plan on adding it later, we've gone ahead and added a ground power and accessory pigtail for you so that it's a simple plug and play install. We're going to grab this is the harness that comes from the dash camera, and we ran it around down the A-pillar and behind the dash. And you will see on here that there are a red, yellow, and black wire, and they already have bullet connectors on them. So all we're going to do is we're going to match up the red male and female bullet connectors, give them a nice push. Same thing, black, and then the yellow. All right, give those a nice push until they snap. So this is going to give us power to our dash camera, both while it's running and while the vehicle is stationary. And then on our harness here, see it says drive recorder in. We're going to take the yellow front camera or the FPM RCA from the dash camera, and we're just going to plug that directly into where it says drive recorder in. One more connector with the dash cam. You'll see there's a little 2-pin connector. It's labeled LIN and ground. We want to find the male and the corresponding female on our harness, and we'll go ahead and plug those together. All right, so it looks like a lot of wire. There's a lot of accessories going on. So last thing that we have, and again, this is a complete add-on if you choose to, and I'll show you a better picture of it once we get everything kind of tidied up. But the great thing about the Alpine units is you have the option for HDMI in and HDMI out. So what I did is I picked up a adapter here that goes where I have a switch blank that has an HDMI cable in it. So I just ran that up the dash and behind the radio. So it gives you the ability to plug in a full-size HDMI to the HDMI in, and that just plugs right in there. So it gives you the ability to be able to hook up an HDMI connection there and then tether through your phone what you would like to watch right here on the screen of your unit. Dash camera hooked up. We have our front camera hooked up. We got all of our vehicle connectors. We even have our Sirius XM hooked up. So at this point, we are ready to set everything back in the dash. So my recommendation with this is there's some room if you kind of imagine the space under where the speaker is. So the easiest way I found to do this is kind of support the radio with one hand and use the other hand to gently push everything up into the dash, because what we don't want to have happen is we don't want to block the 4 mounting locations. So take your time, gently push everything into its place. I promise it will all fit. So let's go ahead and get everything situated in dash, and then we'll go over how to put the screen on. All right, now that we have the chassis into place here, our recommendation is always we're going to grab the screen. We're going to fit the screen to the chassis here to do a function test before we button everything back up. So you'll need 2 things to accomplish this. You'll obviously need the screen, and then the other thing you need is the power bar. So a little plastic piece here. If you don't have this piece installed, your screen and your unit will not power on. So this is not extra. Make sure that you hold on to this. This is absolutely required equipment. We're going to go ahead and put the screen into place. Power bar will only go in one direction, right in until it sits flat, and that's all we need to do. All right, so we have our screen on the chassis. We put the power bar in. We went ahead and put the truck in accessory power. So let's check the basic functionality real quick before we button everything up. So you can see that it came up to the home screen here. We have your AM, FM. We're inside of the shop. We don't get great service here, so obviously nothing's being picked up. You can see our HDMI that we connected is hooked up. Our Sirius tuner is hooked up. You have auxiliary Bluetooth. Connect your phone to either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto and get that set up. I'll show you how to do that here in a little bit. Before you are able to check your cameras is 1, the truck has to be in park, which hopefully it already is. Your emergency brake has to be set to access the setup menu. So I'll go ahead and disengage the emergency brake, you can see that the icon went away, is non-selectable. Push the emergency brake in, see it'll flash a couple times, and now we have access to that. We'll go to setup, and under function, these are going to be all of the different functionalities that you can add or maintain to your new system. So we're actually going to scroll down, and we have the dash camera installed. So we're going to select dash camera, and you can see dash cam menu is currently in the off position. We're going to go ahead and toggle that on. We'll back up one screen. We'll go to camera. The reverse camera is also toggled off, so we're going to toggle that to the on position. And since we have Alpine's front camera connected, we're going to go to camera 2. We're going to select that as our new front camera, and then that turns that on as well. From your home screen or at any time using the small camera icon here, literally just hit that. There is the factory backup camera. Oh, there's somebody parked in front of us in a Trail Grid Pro t-shirt. So again, this is another great use for this, because if we switch to the dash camera, you can see, you can barely see that person or small child in front of your truck. So by using our new front camera, you can see the nice wide range here. You can see pretty much everything in front of you, including small child that got set up while we were filming this. So, all right, it looks like everything is working as it should. So we're going to go ahead and remove the power bar. We're going to attach the screen to the rest of the radio, and then we'll go ahead and put our truck back together. First step is turning the power off to the unit. We're going to remove the power bar just for a minute. We're going to grab the provided screws. They're going to be these kind of round Phillips head screws. There should be 4 of them, and these are going to be used to attach the screen to the actual chassis. So for that, obviously, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver. 4 bolts that I talked about that are going to hold the screen onto the chassis. 2 here, and then we're going to go 2 on the other side. Okay, now we have those 4 attached. Drop our power bar back in place. The next part that you're going to want to grab out of your installation parts bag is this black plastic trim piece. You'll notice that it looks similar to the one that's already on the back of your screen when you get it, but this will cover the power bar and hold it into place. So we're going to need that. And then there's 2 small black Phillips head screws. Those will secure this black plastic trim over the power bar. So the correct orientation of this piece is going to be with the screw holes towards the screen. Work it into place. It can be a tight fit, but it will go. You can see that's all the way down there. Now it's just a matter of lining up our little Phillips head screws to secure this piece in place. All right, home stretch, everybody. With that piece in place, now it's just a matter of reinstalling your 4 10mm bolts that we took out way back at the beginning of this install. We're going to put back the HVAC control and button up the rest of the dash. So without further ado, 10mm. We'll make mention that this is a plastic dash kit, so you don't need to go crazy on the ugga-duggas when tightening these down, and we don't want to crack our new dash kit. All right, at this point, I will make mention that the screen actually does pivot a little bit, so you can pivot it to wherever your viewing is right for you. I actually like mine a little bit more straight up and down. Really, I wouldn't do this until you have both the screen mounted to the chassis and the radio mounted to your truck. If you start trying to pivot it before this, run the risk of causing damage to the connection there. So let's grab our HVAC control. Again, 1 connection on the back. Hazards work. Line the tabs up. Give that a push. And the last piece is our lower trim. Line the tabs up again. Snap it right back into place. All right, everybody, we have our dash all put back together. Got our head unit powered up. It looks awesome. I have my phone mounted here. So the last thing that we need to do is get our phone and our head unit paired so that we can use the full breadth of the Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. So I'm going to go over how to connect those 2 devices here real quick. So in the setup menu, again, have to have the emergency brake depressed to do that. We're going to go to setup. We're going to go to device list on our head unit. We're going to go into the Bluetooth options on your phone. On the head unit, we're going to say add new device. And you can see on the phone here, it's already popped up Alpine DA. Select my phone. You can see there that the numbers came up. We're going to say pair. Say confirm. It's going to allow us, or we want to select allow for our contacts so that our phone stuff will show up. And then it says this device supports Apple CarPlay. Do you want to start? Absolutely. Hit start. And on our phone one more time, it's going to ask us if we want to use CarPlay. So use CarPlay. All right. There we go. We have Apple CarPlay launched. You can see we have all of our Apple CarPlay compatible apps here. And the great thing about this is you can rearrange these as you want. And the other thing you can do is if we go to the settings menu, and we got wallpaper, you can choose your own wallpaper, or we just like to go with the all black background. So much cleaner, looks awesome. Like I said, you can reorganize these. You can do that from the Apple CarPlay menu in your settings on your phone. So let's go ahead and we'll check out the audio real quick, because why not, right? That is definitely a vast improvement, even over the factory JBL system. And what's great is you don't lose any of your functionality. All of my steering wheel controls, everything still works. I've added a front camera. I've added a dash camera. All of that is integrated right here in the head unit. There's even more things that we didn't even go over in this video that you can add to what is now basically the brains of your truck. And let you get all of this information and all of this functionality right at your fingertips. So if you guys want to pick up one of these Alpine plug-and-play bundles for your 2014 to 2021 Toyota Tundra, go right over to the shop. We'll have them available at www.trailgridpro.com. And like always, have a blast out there.